Good morning. Welcome back. It is debate day, and we are just about 13 hours away from the debate. President Biden and former President Donald Trump are going to be in the same room for the first time since October 2020. And the question that we are all wondering this morning, what Joe Biden do we get tonight? Do we get the more sedated Joe Biden, the Joe Biden we saw in Normandy, France, on the debate stage or on the fundraising stage with Barack Obama, or do we get the Joe Biden we saw during the State of the Union address?
My predecessor came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. He's the reason it was overturned, and he brags about it. Look at the chaos that has resulted.
Also possible that we see the catatonic Joe Biden that we saw during that Juneteenth celebration earlier this month.
She knows so long as she was denied, our freedom can never be secured. These black soldiers
electric
were
stuff.
linked.
For more on what Joe Biden shows up tonight and maybe what his team might be up to behind the scenes to get him ready for the performance tonight, let's welcome an internist at Custom Care Medical, Dr. Frank Contessessa. Dr. Frank, good morning. Good to see you.
Morning, Rob. Great to be with you.
So here we are, debate day. Disclaimer first. Want to make it clear that you've never treated President Biden, but you are a doctor. Last week, we talked about, maybe some of the uppers, some of the amphetamine derivatives, Adderall, Ritalin, things that the Biden team could be giving Joe Biden to get him up, to give him the stamina he needs to get through 90 minutes tonight. This thing will get over at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. What are the telltale signs that someone is on something? In other words, what should we be looking for as we watch Joe Biden and evaluate his performance tonight?
Sure. And I just want to reiterate, this is certainly speculation on my part, just based on my observations. But I think we're really looking at demeanor. It's a state of attention. There's a clear difference. I mean, it's really night and day, the Joe Biden that we saw, the State of the Union clip that you showed. I've even thought back to the Philadelphia speech with the red lights behind him, where he was fiery and angry, laser focused, as opposed to the Normandy Joe Biden that we saw the other day. Or the Juneteenth Biden, where he's freezing up. His state of attention, his motions are even slower. I noticed in some of the clips he was putting up, I think it was the one that you're showing right now, he turns back around and he puts on his sunglasses, and it's like slow motion as he's putting on his sunglasses. It's the kind of thing that you would see when you work with the elderly, that their motions are slower. They're just not quite there.
Yeah, and the rest of the media is going to say, look at Newsmax talking about this. Don't believe your lying eyes. Joe Biden is perfectly fine. We'll find out tonight. And guess what? 100 million Americans are going to be watching, hopefully believing what they're seeing happening in front of them. And I hope the president is fine. In the 1960s, a doctor by the name of Max Jacobson, Dr. Feelgood, that was his nickname, he gave John F. Kennedy speed to get him feeling ready for, things like the Cuban Missile Crisis and other things that he had to deal with. We didn't find out that until after he died. Speed is not really widely used in the medical world anymore. But what about a stimulant like a steroid?
Well, you could do something like that. First of all, the ADD drugs that we've mentioned, the Adderall, the Ritalin, those are actually derivatives of amphetamines, the old street speed that you would hear speed used, and the amphetamines off the street. Adderall is dextroamphetamine. So they are derivatives. It's basically the same thing. It's just a bit more refined. I've seen speculation of possibly something like a corticosteroid, like prednisone, where if he's got orthopedic pain, he's got knee pain, arthritis, and his stiff motion that we see, that could temporarily ease those aches and pains. And in higher doses can actually be a form of a stimulant. People who take high doses of corticosteroids, they have more energy, that they have nervous energy, and they have a more intense demeanor.
So Biden has had 2 brain aneurysms that we know about. He's had problems with his heart as well. Is that medically safe and smart to do to an 81-year-old? Give them medicine for an ailment that they might not necessarily need it for?
So, doctors sometimes talk like politicians. We hedge our bets. Well, possibly, Rob. And here's a non-hedged answer. No, it's not smart. It's not healthy. You have an elderly person whose brain has been repaired twice. It's important to keep blood pressure down and under control in those people, because if you think of plumbing, if you increase the pressure too high, something could burst. And these medications can increase blood pressure. Both corticosteroids and the stimulants can do that. He's also got a heart condition called atrial fibrillation, and we know this from public records,
right,
which is an arrhythmia which can increase risk for heart attack and stroke. And these medications can increase the risk for the return of atrial fibrillation, speed up the heart, and throw a clot.
Yeah, just a question, just personally as a doctor, if you were having a conversation with your colleagues, and I'm just wondering this personally, and don't answer if you don't feel like it's appropriate. Do you think that he is doing something behind the scenes that we might find out about 20 years from now?
I think based on my observations that I can see in the media, I think it's more likely that he is taking something for these big events. I don't think I'm going too far out on a limb to say that I think it's more likely than not that they are giving him something to prepare for these big events because they don't want to see the lethargic Biden, the absent-minded Biden. I think these speeches are too important. These appearances are too important. So I think they think that the benefit outweighs the risk.
Yeah, and there's a lot riding on this tonight for Joe Biden. Donald Trump, according to a New York Times poll out this morning, a 4-point lead nationally over Joe Biden. Dr. Frank, we'll all be watching tonight. Appreciate you being on. Appreciate your medical expertise. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. We continue our coverage of the highly anticipated presidential debate later tonight. Will it be a fair fight? South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace is standing by with reaction. And make sure to catch our pre-debate show with Rob Schmidt and Mercedes Schlapp. Coverage starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Time right here on Newsmax. Then, after our pre-show, make sure to tune in to the CNN presidential debate at 9 p.m. Eastern on CNN, or you can watch our simulcast right here live on Newsmax. We will have the debate